Awólọ́wọ̀ ò ṣe o. Awólọ́wọ̀ Olúwa kẹ́ bó ti ṣe kẹ́ ara ìlú ẹ̀. Ìrọ̀rùn rere ló dé fún gbogbo wa, àwa ọmọ Áfíríkà o, a dúpẹ́.
Trending on the social media, for the records. Chief Obafemi Awolowo. The last 2 years of Awolowo as Premier of Western Region was concentrated on efforts to write his name in the Book of Legends. He incorporated Western Hotels, which invested in Premier Hotel, Lafia Hotels in Ibadan, Lagos Airport Hotel respectively. He set up Western Nigeria Development Corporation to finance mega corporations. This was established in 1958. It encouraged plantation development with 6 agricultural plantations covering 20,517 acres in collaboration with cooperative societies, 11 additional plantations covering 8,468 acres with crops ranging from cocoa, rubber, oil palm, citrus, cashew and coffee have been put in place all over the region. WNDC, a clearinghouse for multitude of companies, established for the rapid industrial development and revolution of the region. Among them were 1. WAPCO at Ewakoro for cement, with enough capacity to serve the whole country. 2. Nigerite Limited, producing asbestos and roofing sheets. 3. National Bank. 4. Wema Bank. 5. Nigerian General Insurance. 6. Great Nigeria Insurance. 7. Gravel Enthoven and Koi. 8. Vegetables Oil Limited. 9. Cocoa Processing Industry Ogba Ikeja. 10. Odua Textile Mills Limited. 11. Wrought Iron Limited. 12. Union Beverages Limited. 13. Sungas Company. 14. Wemabod Estates, owner of Western House tallest building, then on Broad Street, and other estates. 15. Western Livestock. 16. Fisheries Services Limited. 17. Caxton Press. 18. Eppa Plywood. 19. Isaka Paints. 20. Nigeria Crafts and Bags Limited. 21. Nipple Plastics in Ibadan. 22. Phoenix Motors. Also, he opened up biggest industrial layouts in I. Ibadan, Oluyole and E. Lagos Oba Akron Axis and E. Ilepeju in Mushin Axis with over 120 factories for mass production of different needs and gave birth to 23. Nigeria Textile Mills. 24. West Africa Breweries. 25. Dunlop Tires. 26. Crittall Hope Aluminum. 27. Tower Aluminium. 28. Solal Bone. 29. Nidogas. 30. Nigeria Wire and Cables in Ilepeju. Odua Investments was the largest conglomerates in Nigeria as at 2004 with assets worth over N10 trillion. Chief Jeremiah Obafemi Awolowo paid the Western Nigeria civil servants the highest salaries far above federal government. So much jobs were created by vast industrialization drives. All these were achieved without oil revenue between 1951–1959. He also touched the road construction with bitumen and laid road network covering over 2,000 kilometers throughout the region. Other achievements of his regime are 1. Cocoa House, the tallest building in West Africa for decades. 2. Liberty Stadium, the most modern in the entire African. 3. Western Nigeria Television and Broadcasting Service WNTV/WNBS, the first radio and television stations in Africa. 4. Many general hospitals and dispensaries in rural area. 5. Free education at primary school level. 6. His effort in cooperative society development gave birth to establishment of Cooperative Bank in 1953 and Cooperative College. The 8 years most of this present governor's spend, was the same with Pa Awolowo, covering what comprises 8 states nowadays, yet he achieved so much. Most of our present-day governors could not mention one world-class company, corporate institution or industry set up to create jobs for teeming youths being turned out year in, year out, by our ivory towers. Today leaders should at least emulate our late sage footsteps instead of all the temporary empowerment programs motorcycle, keke napep, pepper grinding machine, cassava grinding machine, deep freezer, fridge, clipper etc., being used to cajole the electorates at the turn of election every 4 years. A time will come in this nation that people aspiring for position must show a well laid out plan before the electorate. The cash and carry politics will fail as it's the practice in developed nation. Let us always look forward to lasting legacies. Obafemi Awolowo was obviously ahead of his peers until today no living or deceased Nigerian has surpassed his achievements. You wonder why the southwest Nigeria did well. In the 1990s, Nigeria textile mills, Oba Akron-Ikeja alone employed over 4,000 workers before the military mismanagement of economy killed the company with unfriendly company policies. Can we ever find a leader like this man in Nigeria again? Read this: Obasanjo, the greatest evil man in the history of Yorubaland. Obasanjo, The Enemy Within, delivered by Adeyinka grandson on the 18th of January 2018. 1. The many atrocities of Obasanjo against the Yoruba nation and her citizenry. 2. On the 29th of July 1975, the military regime of Yakubu Gowon was overthrown and replaced by another military regime headed by Murtala Muhammad, who was killed on February 13, 1976. 3. On February 13, 1976, Obasanjo was imposed by the Hausa Fulani as a military head of state and ruled Nigeria for almost 4 years. 4. In 1976, Obasanjo wanted television and radio stations for the Hausa Fulani and began with a takeover of the Yoruba's Western Nigerian Government Broadcasting Corporation (WNTV), and turned it into the Nigerian Television Authority (NTA) and the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria (FRCN). 5. In September 1976, Obasanjo introduced the Universal Primary Education (UPE) to bring the Yoruba nation at par with the Hausa Fulani nation educationally, with the takeover of all the Yoruba teacher training colleges and established secondary schools side by side with all primary schools, including privately owned high schools across Yorubaland, and began to change the curriculum under his central government's Universal Primary Education Program (UPE), which affected the Yoruba education negatively till date. 6. In 1976, Obasanjo, as part of bringing the Hausa Fulani nation at par with the Yoruba nation educationally, ensured that the University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University, belonging to the governments of the Yoruba people, was taken over by the federal government, through the NUC reconstituted Decree No. 1 of 1976. 7. In 1976, Obasanjo nationalized the Liberty Stadium, Ibadan, now Obafemi Awolowo Stadium, among others belonging to the governments of the Yoruba people, was similarly taken over by the Nigerian military authorities, under Obasanjo. 8. In 1976, the Yoruba Western Nigeria Marketing Board, which was particularly promoting cocoa farmers, was abolished by Obasanjo. 9. In 1976, Obasanjo sought to increase Hausa Fulani local food production by reducing that of the Yoruba nation, and thus dabbled extensively into the Yoruba agriculture farm settlements, took them over at random under his fraudulent Operation Feed the Nation program. The Yoruba people never dependent on the North for food, but since Obasanjo took away the Yoruba's farm settlements through his fraudulent Operation Feed the Nation program, Yorubaland has relied on the North for its food. 10. In 1977, Fela's compound Calacuta Republic housed his family, band members, and a recording studio. It had a free health clinic. The compound was burned to the ground on February 18, 1977 after an assault by 1,000 armed Hausa Fulani soldiers on the instruction of Obasanjo. 11. In 1978, Fela's mother Funmilayo Ransom Kuti was thrown from a third-floor window of Fela's Kalakuta Republic House, when it was stormed by armed Hausa Fulanis military personnel sent there by Obasanjo. Fela's mother lapsed into a coma in February of that year, and died on 13 April 1978, as a result of her injuries. 12. On 29 March 1978, Obasanjo made the Land Use Act an integral part of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The Land Use Act, which reads, "All the rights formerly vested in the holder in respect of the excess of the land shall in the commencement of this act be extinguished and the excess of the land shall be taken over by the state and federal government and administered as provided in this act." The Land Use Act was promulgated into law to essentially take the Yoruba's ports and waterways away from the control of the Yoruba people and into the hands of the Hausa Fulani. The act altered the existing land laws in Yorubaland by removing families and chiefs from the trusteeship of the land and replaced them with the federal and state governments, thus constituting the greatest clog in the wheel of housing development in Yorubaland. 13. In 1979, Obasanjo openly boasted of how he rigged Alhaji Shehu Shagari, a Fulani against Chief Obafemi Awolowo, a Yoruba in the 1979 presidential elections while serving as a military head of state. 14. It should be mentioned that the Fulani decorated Obasanjo as the head of state, but the real power behind the throne was a Fulani lieutenant colonel who was catapulted overnight to brigadier general in the person of Shehu Yaradua. 15. Obasanjo forced Major General Olatoye, now Oba of Idoani, to retire. His offense was telling Obasanjo to co-opt minority groups into the federal government who have been neglected. Obasanjo went and told Yaradua, called General Olatoye to say what he told him in the presence of Yaradua. The man repeated it and he was retired the next day. 16. In 1967, when Brigadier Banjo invaded former Midwest, and reached Ore, he sent messages to Obasanjo, through Professor Soyinka. Banjo didn't want to enter Yorubaland just like that. Obasanjo revealed what Soyinka told him to General Gowon. Professor Soyinka was detained to spend over 2 years in detention. 17. In 1991, the Lagos state population was 4.4 million. The old Kano state population, that's Kano and Jigawa, in 1991 was 4.2 million. Lagos state has the highest population, then in 1991. But in 2006, Lagos state population increased from 4.4 million to 9.4 million, whilst that of the old Kano state increased from 4.2 million to 15.5 meters, Kano 9.8 meters and Jigawa 5.6 meters. The census of 2006 was conducted under Obasanjo. 18. In 1993, Obasanjo stated that Abiola wasn't our Messiah. 19. In 1998, Obasanjo agreed in principle with the Hausa Fulani to have Abiola, the winner of the 1993 presidential election, murdered by the Fulani. He was thereafter appointed as president of Nigeria in 1999 by the Fulani. 20. On the 26th of November 1999, Obasanjo gave an instruction to the police that anyone who calls himself OPC should be arrested and if he doesn't agree should be shot on sight. Many Yoruba youths lost their lives as a consequence of such a barbarous order on young Yoruba people. 21. In 2000, Obasanjo frustrated the Lagos State Independent Power Projects and caused the project to be either poorly operational or yet to be fully come alive after gulping billions of naira. 22. As president, Obasanjo stopped the Fourth Mainland Bridge by refusing to give the necessary country guarantee to secure a World Bank loan. 23. During his administration as president, Obasanjo awarded Kano to Borno Road, an 8-lanes road of 600 kilometers, Kaduna to Abuja Road, a 4-lanes road of 200 kilometers, while Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, Ilorin to Akure Road, combined are not up to 500 kilometers, and Kogi to Lagos Road of 350 kilometers were left undone. 24. In 2004, Obasanjo as president of Nigeria, withheld the Lagos state local government funds, following the creation of 37 new local government development areas, LCDAs, in Lagos state. The Supreme Court ruled that the creation of the council was in order, but Obasanjo withheld the Lagos Fund. This contributed to the slow rate of development in Lagos. 25. According to Lam Adesina, the former governor of Oyo State, in an interview with a Punch correspondence, Obasanjo and Atiku murdered Chief Bola Ige. 26. Obasanjo was the man who rigged Sikli Yaradua, a Fulani, president of Nigeria in 2007. 27. On the instructions of Obasanjo, former UK Foreign Secretary, Mr. William Hague, consulted for the APC on how to implicate President Jonathan over the 200 Chibok school girls. 28. In 2015, Obasanjo nominated Buhari for president and as the APC navigator, enlisted the support of President Obama, Senator John McCain and Senator Hillary Clinton to undermine Jonathan's administration in favor of a Fulani president of Nigeria. 29. Obasanjo worked with the United States, the United Kingdom and France to make sure Buhari, a Fulani, was rigged as president of Nigeria in 2015. 30. The horrible half Igbo and half Yoruba man is working very hard to make Sule Lamido, yet another Fulani, the president of Nigeria in 2019. 31. Obasanjo is not a Yoruba person. He was born in Yorubaland and carries Yoruba tribal mark. However, his paternity is not Yoruba. It has been proved and confirmed that Obasanjo's father was an Igbo man, a colonial police officer who served in Abeokuta. The origin of his mother is, however, Yoruba. 32. If Obasanjo were to be a white in America, for going against the collective interests of the white Americans, he would have since been decimated. If he were to be an English in Britain and doing everything against the collective interests of the English people in Britain, he would also have been decimated. Simply because the young Yoruba have not fully grasped the concept of self-preservation, they are still treating Obasanjo with unmerited respect. 33. Yorubaland could have been great, but Obasanjo has stunned our growth. 34. For God and the Yoruba country, now is the time for the Yoruba youth to treat Obasanjo appropriately.